Well, good evening, and hello to anybody out there. Unusual not to see people in chat already, but I'm sure people will turn up eventually. So we're back on the RC2014 kit build again, part 4 this week, as the title suggests, and we'll be looking at the serial board. So, chat turns up. So hello to Swarm Dead Insects and Dovaz and Jeep in there. Hope you're all well, and Vital Kneve as well. What are we baking today? Today we are baking an RC2014 serial board, which does not involve using the Kenwood and does not involve using the oven, and hopefully doesn't involve causing mortal offence to anybody with my choice of coffee making implements. But so far we have built the
RHK77 cheered with 100 bits. Hello. I will be back soon.
Well, hello RHK, and thank you for the 100 bits, most appreciated, and I shall catch you when you get back. And Chloe is not here apparently, that's good to know. And hello Sleepy as well. So far we have built the backplane, importantly. Let me switch cameras. The backplane, the CPU board, the dual clocks board, the RAM board, that one I think, and the ROM board here. The only thing we're missing is some form of I/O. So if we build the serial board, we should in theory be able to boot it into BASIC and the ROM monitor. There's a monitor on there, there's BASIC on there, and those will run in the minimum system. To do CPM we'll need the CF card, which will be later on in the project. Don't know whether it'll be next week, we'll find out when we get there I suppose. It wasn't just Majenko. Was it? I can't remember if that was you, Jeepin, but there are definitely two of you complaining in Shelby's chat about my coffee not a grinder. But there is good news on that front, which I shall share later when Majenko is back. So let me absentmindedly play with those bits of metal over there. So before we get started on the serial board though, I noticed one slight issue last week when I put this away. Apparently I never got around to soldering in the reset button. There's another reset button here on the clock board, but we should probably solder the one on the back plane as well, so we'll do that first. And hello Matt, how are you doing? Good to see you. Right. What would be useful? We have a soldering iron. What would be useful though would be some solder, wouldn't it? Bear with me. Huh. This could be a remarkably short stream. Car, is it? Oh, thank you for the follow there, Created. Much appreciated. I had to go to look at the Mini ProLine that didn't reboot. Oh, that sounds fun, Chloe. Oh yes, you did say, didn't you? And hello, RHK. You join me in the frantic hunt for some solder, because solder would be useful. Before we can go any further with this project, aha. It was behind the laptop, which is the obvious place to keep it. Yes, the Pride kit is pretty rare. I think there were 40 or 50 made or something like that back in 2023. Yep. So there was, I think it was 10 released each week during June 23. Ooh, that's fun, Chloe. I'm surprised it tried to do that though. I've got an HP in the garage, which is at my Proxmox test bed, and getting that thing to boot the Proxmox installer was a nightmare. I ended up using netboot.xyz because come on, soldering iron. It just completely refused to acknowledge any other boot media. USB stick, no good. DVD drive was dead, so that didn't work. Apparently, you need to have, if you wanted to boot off a USB stick, it needed to have a special HP signature on it or some nonsense like that. So yeah, not hugely impressed by some of HP's BIOS choices. And there we go. So let's get this soldered in while we have the thing upside down on the desk, on the kitchen table more like. And of course we started with the ground pin and made a right mess of it. There we go. So at least that won't fall out and surprise me. Oh, hello, Carrot House. How are you doing? Well, I mean, you can be forgiven for debating that, given the energy levels of some of my streams. But we want to open the box of bits again and find ourselves the PCBs, the sundries, the header pins, the USB serial adapter, that will be handy later. The sockets, actually put this back here, and the passives, there we go. So what I should have done is bring up the relevant Safari window ahead of time. Do bear with me. Hang on, what's gone wrong here? Right, that was me hearing myself on Twitch. No wonder I was confused. RC2014.co.uk assembly guides for where's it gone? No, serial module. Dual serial model SIO/2. this is not a good start. Let me pull up the Safari window. This is hastily done due to time constraints right now. Important facts. Port vehicle must be driven to avoid odd behaviour. Right, okay. So there's no bill of materials. We should just have to have a look at this. R123. Okay. Let's do that and that, and follow this link. And find whatever instructions are special here. Use the blue 2-pin headers and jumpers on this, and the blue 6-pin right angle headers. Otherwise it is identical to a regular dual serial module. Right. So, let's start with those then. Oh, hello, Horse Taco. Good to see you. Let me just catch up with chat. Definitely no bots. You can. I can assure you there will be no bots in my channel. The closest we'll get to a bot is some sort of automation eventually to run the ads at a better time. Because every time I think I've cracked it with the scheduling, Twitch does something stupid to annoy me. Right, so that, I think that's it. How many? So, okay, no, there might be another jumper. There's a, okay, 2-pin header. Right, I see. So we want to go. What we want to do is click on the right things. So there should be 3 2-pin jumper blocks, yes, good, and 2 right-angled headers. Okay, we can manage that. And thanks for the follow, Horse Taco, much appreciated. For once I was not in a mad dash to start the stream this evening. I had a little time to kill, so once I'd finished reinstalling some fibre faceplates in the front bedroom that I've just redecorated, I left a message on Shelby's Discord, so we might get some new visitors this week. But that is the last of the regular PCBs, i.e. the ones that are not fancy dye sublimated ones. So that'll be interesting when we get to those next time. And we're going to need a nice big 40-pin socket for that one, and a 14 and a 16. There's a 14 stuck in that one, so that's fine. Yep, good. And then apparently it's just the... there's no capacitor on here. No capacitors on here. I would have thought there'd be a decoupling cap somewhere, but apparently not. Okay, that's interesting. So it's just 6 resistors, so we need the schematic to figure out what those are. Bring Safari back up. And aha, resistors. Okay. Is there any notation anywhere for what resistor values to use? There is not. Okay, so we're going to have to attempt to read these. I think that's brown black, so 1 0. Is that red? Brown, black, red, gold. Thank you, Chloe. So red is 3, isn't it? So that's 10k. Okay, fine. Red is 3, isn't it? Black, brown, no. Black, brown, red, orange, green. Black, brown, red. So it's 1k. Okay. There are some 1k resistors in here, so if we don't spill all the other passives all over the table. Okay, 2, so it can't be that. You don't need any decoupling caps. 1k, there we go. Those are 1k as well. So let's have a look. This is very true. If they escaped to the floor, we would never find them again. You'll notice that light behind me, which has been out of action intermittently for the last few, well, probably since before I started streaming actually. Sometimes it would flicker into life briefly and then go out again. I finally got around to having a look at it, well, 20 minutes ago, and it was knackered, the bulb. But when I took the downlighter fitting out of the sort of for architrave, no, the thing. It had been bodged into place with a screw to retain it, and was just wedged in between the downlighter and the wood, and the screw bounced off onto the floor, never to be seen again. So great. I shall probably find it when I go next sweep up. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I think they were all the same, weren't they? They were. Yes, good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this looks like it's a nice simple little board to build, which will be a pleasant change. Oh, we've got to do the header pins. Yes, right. So it's another jewel strip with pins pulled out of it. Yep. So we grab the pliers and we find this a knife. There it is. Take one off the bottom. That did not go as well as usual. That has completely shattered the... Not that it matters, but no, made a right mess of the end there. Okay, that's... Okay. Sweep. Well, yes, except I can't actually get to it. I think it bounced into the region in front of the dishwasher where there is currently a pile of recycling awaiting going out, so there is no chance of accidentally standing on it at least. But, right, we need to remove... You know, this is different from some of the other ones. There are only 3 to remove from one end, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 from the other. So damn, that's actually knackered it. When the housing shattered, hang on, let me see if I can. When I cut the extra one off the end here, it's actually taken the. Can you see that? I can't actually see on my own screen whether you can see that or not. It's taken off enough of the plastic, because it didn't cut cleanly like it usually does, it just shattered, and it's exposed one of the pins we actually need. Never mind. Remdog, that's how I usually deal with things in my diary for the day, yes, as we all know from my eBay escapades. So, anyway, we'll get on with this. And we need to pull 3 from this end. So for those who haven't seen me build one of these modules before, this bizarre ritual with pulling pins out of an innocent 2-row header is because 2, 3. The original RC2014 bus was a single row 39 pin header. Should be 6, 7, 8. And then Spencer added some extra pins to the enhanced bus, I think it's called, or there's certainly an extended bus. And those are on a second row, but if you can't mix and match single and dual row headers, because the design is different enough that they won't line up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I shouldn't have tried talking and counting at the same time. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you have to take a dual row header and remove a bunch of pins that you don't need. Yep, there we go, and then that last one will go on the end here. And we'll just have to hope we can line it up properly. So, let's crack on with the resistors first of all, won't it? Actually, I need a sip of tea first. Yeah, exactly. You put the connector in backwards to support the inside row, the shorter pins that you need all of them, and then you pull the excess out because you leave those dangling in thin air so you can yoink them. Hang on. So let me, actually I can find this on the website somewhere, I think. 1 second. Troubleshooting, no. Though I have definitely seen notes regarding this on the website. There we go. Preparing enhanced bus. Unfortunately, the profile of single and double row headers are quite different and they cannot be mixed and matched on the same module. So there's a picture of what goes wrong if you try doing it the obvious way. So yeah, it just says line it up, yoink them out, job done. So let's turn that back off. Evening Phil, how are you doing? Good to see you. Sleepy, yes. Yes, it would I'm glad I stumbled across that page before I sat down to assemble it. Otherwise things might have got very sweary in fairly short order. So on with the resistors, which we are presuming are 1K. And let's get them in the right way round, or a consistent way around rather. That's not in a good position for the camera, is it? What can I do about that? How does that look? It's almost in focus. Here we go. Evening, Wajenko. Fixing up the garage fill, excellent. I made a half-hearted stab at that recently to clear room for a machine that I was going to have temporary custody of, and now I'm not going to have temporary custody of it, so it was a waste of effort, but at least it's tidier now. And also at least now I have the fibre run nicely mounted to the wall, so that helps. I need a reminder not to give you all arm cam, but eh. Okay, I think they're all in the right way. More light always helps. Yes, and they're almost lined up as well, apart from one of them. So let's get soldering. Yeah, Phil, that's always tempting. I tell myself that I don't have enough equipment to fill a rack, and if I did, I probably shouldn't anyway. But there's a VG224 that's due to get mounted to the wall inside the hall cupboard behind me at some point to drive all the extensions in the house phone system independently, which will be fun and will mean I can dial into BBS type stuff from retro nonsense without running up the phone bill, which is always a positive. Unfortunately, one of the things I would like to dial into if I could is there's a view data BBS in France run by a chap called Jalora, probably mangling that pronunciation, and it was very handy when I wanted to. This was before I realised Telstar existed. Very handy when I was lining up the modem in my view data terminal, which certainly Phil has seen at EMF. But it turns out making a lot of phone calls to France of a few seconds duration just to check that the modem is working is not the best plan in the world from a financial standpoint. But yeah, I am hoping to get all that set up in-house so I have a nice view data system and other nonsense for things like the Amstrad PVC 640 that I think I might have. Can't remember if I showed that one off on stream once, but that's got a built-in modem, so it's never been plugged into the phone line, because why would you plug a 2400 baud modem into the phone line these days? But anyway, I think that's done. So. Let's just catch up on chat quickly. Keep my arm out of the way. Hang on. RHK. No, he was too busy washing his car, unfortunately, on Sunday. And then I got distracted watching Shelby. But I ran my idea past him for how I will go about building or putting the support struts in, and he's agreed that it sounded reasonable, so I shall get on with that hopefully tomorrow. So I'm just checking which of these should go in first. I think it's the IC socket by the merest whisker. That way, to that way. What else was I spotting in chat there? Cobb, hello, how are you doing? No, we haven't broken it quite yet. We'll be breaking it later, I'm sure. On the Minitel terminal, one of the things I did once I got it running, when I bought it, it was vaguely unhappy. The display was a bit flickery, and if you had it in so-called ASCII mode, 80 column mode, it was absolutely awful. So I recapped the drive board, analog board for the CRT, and that helped dramatically. And while I was doing it, reverse engineering it to figure out which caps were important to replace, because there weren't any obvious ones, I think the answer was one of the film caps in the deflection circuit. But when I was reverse engineering it, I discovered this actually it is a colour machine with a black and white monitor on it, CRT on it, and it's just doing a weighted sum of the RGB outputs to get to 8 shades of grey rather than 8 colours. So obviously I thought I wanted to just break these out to a connector so that I can hook it up to a colour monitor. And surprisingly enough, that worked if you find the right monitor. The timings looked roughly PAL-like, but with a very, very truncated vertical sync, or vertical blanking interval. So most of my TV, and none of my monitors would accept, none of the ones I had at the time would accept that signal, and most of the televisions would either, but one of them would. Now that I've got the RGB to HDMI, I might build a cable to break those RGB signals out to the RGB to HDMI, and then we can do on-stream view data for absolute nonsense purposes. Because for EMF last year, for those who aren't familiar, EMF is electromagnetic field. It's a maker/hacker festival in the UK every other year. And I went for the first time last year, having sort of for several years running, having looked at people going, thinking I really ought to have gone to that, but last year I really needed something to look forward to, so as a result I plucked up the courage to buy a ticket to go and spend a long weekend camping in a field, and it was brilliant, but I thought I can't turn up empty-handed, so I built a view data system for the schedule and telephone directory, because they have an on-site telephone network, DECT and copper and GSM in fact this year as well, or last year. So I had the schedule, the phone book, a guest book, and live prices from the bar, but unfortunately they changed the bar API, and the new docs weren't ready until about a week beforehand, and I didn't get them to work in time. So next year I shall have to try and get ahead of the game and make sure that the bar API is working. But certainly things like the schedule information were very handy to have online, and it was good fun to be able to dial into it from a view data terminal in your tent and see what was going on the main stages. Anyway, complete irrelevancy, but maybe I'll show it off sometime if I ever hook the terminal up to the RGB to HDMI. In fact, we might do a stream of building random such cables, because I have another cable I need to build for the VT240. It has a printer output on the back, which is serial, because everything's serial obviously on it, but it's not. It predates the IBM standard 9-pin. It's a 9-pin, but not compatible with any other, or what you would expect. So I need to build a cable for that. I have a sudden sinking feeling maybe it's the same as the one that I built for Majenko's VAX, which turned out to be useless to Majenko because he doesn't use 25-pin serial anywhere. That would be a shame. I shall have to look it up. But no, the idea being that if I can get a printer hooked up to it, then I can keep a log of fourth sessions and such, like when I'm writing things like the keyboard driver, which is Friday's stream, by the way, and drivers for IDE disks and such like, because obviously until you have those you can't store anything persistently. So yeah, keyboard driver on Friday, and then I have a pile of mystery objects to show off. Some of you might have noticed me talking to Shelby over the weekend about this. We have come to the conclusion that since they are not quite what we thought they were when I went to buy them, or when he spotted them and asked me to go and pick them up, there is no point me shipping them over to him. It would be completely cost ineffective for something he's not actually as interested in as he thought. So they are now in the garage, and then I shall bring them in next week, probably next Friday, and we can have a look at them and have some fun. So where are we? That's the IC sockets done, hopefully in the right way round, he says, having not checked beforehand. Yes, good. So we've got to put the right angled 6-pin headers for serial outputs. This is unfortunately TTL, so I will have to build a adapter thingy, what's it, with a Max 232 or something to turn them into proper RS232 so that I can use it with an actual terminal. So let's tack down pins 1. That's going to be dreadfully skew-whiff until I go back and touch it up, but that's fine. And that's fallen out. Maybe these should have gone in before the IC sockets after all, but they were marginally taller, or they looked marginally taller. Right, let's, where are we? We're completely out of focus there, aren't we? Screen projector. Yep, okay. I mean, that one's actually not far off square at all. So I'll probably leave that one without touching it up, and then this one on the end here is way out. That's better. So I'll just get these in, and then I shall come and catch up with chat, because I realise I've been mumbling on to myself. What I need is luminescent solder of some sort so I can actually see it. That would help. I mean, that or better lighting, but everybody knows better lighting is an impossibility. So we're almost done. 3 headers and that one. So and we've got to find, where did I put that? There. And we've got to figure out how to get this back into position, like so, without Do I have? Yes, good. There we go, that'll hold it nicely in place. For those who missed the disaster earlier on, I went to trim the extraneous pin off the end of this 40 pin header to get a 39 pin header, and the plastic shattered rather than cutting cleanly and dropped one of the pins we do actually need, so we shall take care of it separately like that. There we go. So we now have that was the one that was loose and is now neatly aligned. Good. So, 1 second, I just want to catch up on chat before we go any further. So what are we on? Yes, grey squirrels can indeed kindly fuck off. Well, I don't have any local reds. Do see some greys in the garden though, and they're fine, but like the red ones. So squirrel meat, we'll leave that one there. Cobb, is this pretty interesting? Yes, we should be booting into basic in hopefully probably 20 minutes or so. So the serial board is the last piece we need before it's the minimum viable system of ROM, RAM, CPU, clocks and serial board. Majenko, what I need is eye transplants. Well, I've had corneal transplants, which are kind of close. Headlamp might work. But no, I think basically I only have there are 6 LED bulbs in here in the fittings, but they're all pointing at weird angles. So some sort of, I don't know, work light contraption for the kitchen table might be useful. I mean, ideally I would find a better place to stream from, but you need room for the streaming laptop and all the bits to go with it and such like, which means that my actual desk where I used to do my electronic stuff is completely out of the question. It's nowhere near big enough, and it has my other machine set up on it anyway, so bit of a shame. But anyway, so we shall have some tea. Majenko, I did think about it. The garage, it's not furnished. It's an unpleasant environment to work in for an extended period. I know this from personal experience. When I'm doing machining and such like out there, it's either too cold or too hot, or too wet or too noisy. Too dark, but at least that could be solved with the application of big LED strip lights. Let's switch cameras again. I need a hotkey to bring up the full screen view so I can judge focus better. I should probably do that at some point rather than just muse about it. I'll let that one through GPin. That's yes, perfectly fine in my books. Belgium had added permitted term ball gag. Excellent. This is sliding around annoyingly. Can I weigh it down with that? In fact, the answer is yes, I can. The other answer would have been to go upstairs and get the PCB grip set up, but again, kind of fun, takes up too much room to work with on my usual desk though, which is a shame. Yeah, the die-up process for the other PCBs was an inspired piece of work, I think, and I shall look forward to having a look at those when we get to them next time. I'm a little bit trepidatious about actually doing the soldering on it because you have to keep your iron away from the board itself, so I'll probably switch to a conical tip or something for that. And I'll probably do all that work under the magnifier so that I don't accidentally scorch the die sub. I believe nowadays if Spencer were to do the same kit again, certainly JLC PCB can do.
RHK77 cheered with 100 bits. Small down payment for the rent of a completely new streaming studio.
Well, thank you, RHK. Most appreciated. Yeah, so these days JLC PCB will actually do full colour print on PCBs, I think, which is interesting. I haven't seen any results from that yet. I saw people talking about it when it was sort of in a test release for invited people only. But unfortunately the downside is you have to use their proprietary EDA software to generate your designs for it. And I don't know whether that's any good or not. I think someone looked at it and found out that although it looked like a fairly simple extension to sort of Gerber plus an image file, there was some sort of digital signature on there to make sure that you couldn't just submit your own images without going through their software.
Cop 2015 cheered with 100 bits. Here's my contribution towards buying a new coaster for said streaming studio.
Oh, thank you, Cop. Most appreciated. Oh no, a hype train. Let's see if we can have any success with that. Yes, Majenko is here now, isn't he? So, I do need to make a very sincere and heartfelt apology for my atrocious behaviour on Friday. Putting poor innocent coffee beans in a spice mill because I don't have a grinder. I realise now that this was completely unacceptable and has caused much consternation to some of my viewers to the extent that they were discussing my heresy in Shelby's chat room. I wasn't there over the weekend. So I had a look, and to get the matching grind, or a grinder from Weber Workshops, who made the bird that I was using, I think their grinders start at £1,400 and go up to 40,000. So I won't be buying one of those, just to be clear on that. But I might invest it in something a little more reasonable. However, I was talking about this with my brother over the weekend because he bought me the bird, of course.
Majenko Tech cheered with 100 bits. You did a bad thing and I hope you feel major remorse. And this will go towards a coffee grinder for your new streaming studio.
Well, thank you very much, Majenko. It is most appreciated. And thanks for the tip there, Phil. I shall check it out. What I will be doing on a more immediate basis, though, I tweeted Sam about this, and he looked thoughtful for a moment, and then ferreted around above on top of my parents' kitchen cupboards.
RC2014 cheered with 100 bits. Sorry for making you feel bad because you committed a heresy by grinding good beans in a bad grinder. Smile.
Thank you, Jeepin. This is much appreciated. Anyway, it turns out that I'd forgotten my mother used to have a burr grinder for coffee.
A swarm of dead insects cheered with 100 bits. On manual grinders, my vote and recommendation is on Comandante.
Oh, thank you, Swarm of Dead Insects. Most appreciated there, both the bits and the recommendation. So we dug out this old grinder, which I'd forgotten about because it used to be on the windowsill and hadn't been there for years. And we found it half disassembled, or somewhat loose. At least the handle was flopping around loosely. And we had a look, and there were some unidentified things in it. Looked like nuts of some sort. Don't know why someone had been trying to grind nuts in there, but it had obviously not gone well, and an attempt had been made to salvage the situation, which had been abandoned because it was absolutely god awful. A really vile organic slime coating the actual burr. So we did manage to get it apart and clean it up a bit. Well, no, we managed to get it apart and clean it up quite comprehensively, and it now looks like it might be usable for things intended for human consumption. But in order to do so, we ended up having to drill out some of the holes to screw it back together. So I have ordered some replacement screws, slightly bigger ones, and I shall be putting that together at some point. So maybe I'll do it in an idle moment on stream. Perhaps if the pile of bits that are no longer going to Shelby, we can do a mechanical bits extravaganza or something. Just straighten these headers up before I solder the other side. Oh, thank you for the single bit there, Jeepin. I most appreciated. I'm afraid the TTS only kicks in at 100, I think. Because yes, I am as greedy as Shelby in that respect. That's not quite straight. We shall should get it. Yep. Exactly, Cobb. The mechanical bits extravaganza. So yeah, that's a potential stream for maybe a couple of Fridays' time. We shall see. That's one. That's two. And I've lost sight of the third. Where's the third one gone? 1, 2. There. 3. Okay. Just catch a bunch of a second. Nuts in a coffee grinder isn't as bad as coffee beans in a spice grinder. Well, perhaps not, but at least the coffee beans in the spice grinder worked, damn it. You cannot deny I got coffee out of it. The bearded lady exhibit at extravaganza. I'm afraid not. You might be thinking of the wrong sort of extravaganza there, Cobb. And Jeep, I was not demeaning your single bit. I was merely thanking you for it and explaining that it was not going to trigger any particular reaction from the world at large. So where are we? We have all of that done. We shall put that jumper on there for port B clock, because apparently that absolutely needs to be hooked up, otherwise things don't work properly. So okay, and we shall not install these jumpers properly for these other two, because what these do is connect the 5-volt lines from the coming in from the FTDI. I believe it's an FTDI standard.
Jeepin 247 cheered with 100 bits. Fine, be that way.
Well, thank you for the 100 bits there, Jeepin. Most appreciated. So yeah, the one of the pins on this whatever this standard is, I think just generic USB FTDI UART thing, is a 5-volt output from the bus, and you can power the entire system off it if you install these jumpers appropriately. But I don't want to do that because we've got power elsewhere. And that's it. We just need to put the chips in. So let's find the chips.
Majenko Tech cheered with 100 bits. I demand to be called Magic Contact. This TTS sucks and doesn't pronounce thongs read.
Yes, thank you for the 100 bits there, Majenko. I do apologise, I don't have any control over it. It's just Streamlabs default. If they have a custom scripting, I shall try and put an override in so that it pronounces your name correctly. How about that? 5-watt time overkill. It could be. It's more the fact that I don't particularly trust the USB hub it's going to be plugged into. So we want the 04 and we want a 138. Yep. And that big one there, obviously, is the SIO 2. Yes, I suppose I could use the MacOS TTS. It's just I don't have it hooked up. Let's kill that soldering iron. All the overlay stuff is just done through Streamlabs, isn't it? Yeah, and I've just set it up to appear with the actual text. There's no reason I couldn't add a local API consumer for it, I suppose. But then it might not show up at the same time, which would be unfortunate. You want it to synchronize against the on-screen message, ideally. So, and finally, the chip that does all the work. Pop that in there. And we should be good to go. So, we shall pick a slot to pop it in. I think that's a blue board and there are no blue slots left. Let's slap it in this black one just for laughs. What's gone wrong here? Oh, nothing's gone wrong there, I just wasn't looking at it straight on. Oh, that's a nicer shot there. Whoops, I pressed the wrong button and blinded myself. There we go. So we got dual serial, 64K RAM, pageable ROM, CPU and clocks at the back there. So what we want to do is find the thing with the what's it. Here we go. And I wonder which way around this goes. Ground, clear to send 5 volts. Oh, ground is marked on the board. That is handy. So we'll put it on port A. That seems sensible, doesn't it? I mean, this isn't like the C64, everything used port B instead. And we want to make sure the power is off. It is. Okay. I don't like how much strain that's putting on there. So let me just catch up on chat quickly. Wow, Automod is a real prude this evening. I don't know what it objected. Oh, it objected to the term tongue in. Okay, fair enough. So. Just have a quick read of chat there. One of the things I do like about the MacBook Pros, this one and certainly the one I've got on my desk upstairs, is the MagSafe. It solves every concern I've ever had about laptop power jacks being a bit unfortunate. Cobb, can you make my name sound like the TTS is trying to hock up a furball while reading out the numbers? No, I'm afraid not. That sounds like it's going to be hard work. And we all know I don't do hard work around here. RHK, the value to me, I think it's a 50-50 split on bits. I'm not exactly certain. I'd have to look that one up. And right. Oh, I missed. Hang on. Majenko added permitted term blew her. Right.
RHK77 cheered with 200 bits. So 100 for you, 100 for Jeff.
Oh, thank you very much, RHK. I'm sure Jeff
Majenko
appreciates
Tech
it as much as I
cheered
do.
with 100 bits.
Well, no.
It looks like you're trying to build a PC 20-month for Blurb Glub 4. Do you need help with that?
I'm sure I appreciate it a lot more than Jeff appreciates his 100. Let's put it that way. And Majenko, thank you for the 100 bits there. Yes, I'm trying to build a PC 20-month for Blurb Glub 4. I need help with many, many things, but what I need help with right now is bringing up a terminal, because I do not have CoolTerm running, because I'm an idiot. I started it earlier and then closed it. There we go. Cancel. No, OBS, I don't want to update you right now. Last time I updated you, everything broke. So if I do that, let me make this window a bit bigger. Actually, let's move it there. So we have not a terminal emulator because dumb serial things are a lot better. Right, baud rate. Ooh, yes, we need to set up the jumpers and all the rest of it, don't we? Right. What's gone wrong here? So we want to find the setup guide for this one. Digital I/O. Clocks. Dual clock. With the SIO2 UART, this will give a baud rate of 115 to 100. That's good.
Majenko Tech cheered with 100 bits. Here is a message from my bot. Go eat your beets before we lose signal again. They never last in a rush to get everything on time. No, I don't know what he's on about either.
Well, thank you for the 100 bits there, Majenko, and thank your bot for the alleged wisdom. I'm sure that's... I'm sure it meant something to him. I'm getting tangled up in cables here. So, change call term to 115 to 100, that's good. And there was somewhere a nice PDF with... where's it gone? Full assembly guides, there it was. Pro assembly tips, there we go. So let's start it off with okay, so I did work all this out the other week and then I forgot about it. So we want the ROM board first. So we have 8 images. Oh, we have a bunch of pages we can choose from in the ROM. The first one is Microsoft Basic 32K. The second one is Microsoft Basic 56K. 8.8 is not on this list. Oh dear. 6 is CPM monitor, so I'm going to have to find the other list of ROM. There we go, ROM module. Bear with me while I look for the thing. There was definitely a page which decoded these ROM labels. Pageable ROM. Come on. I meant to dig all this out earlier and I completely forgot. Decoding ROM labels, there we go. Clicky. So 8.8 is the small computer monitor for pageable ROM, 64K of RAM, SIO2, Microsoft Basic and CPM boot options. So that sounds like a good general purpose option, but we want to do a quick test with just basic first. So we'll set it for 2, which is well, let's look at what the 9 is as well. 6 is CPM monitor and 9 is small computer monitor, any ROM, any RAM, any UART. Okay, but there's no basic. Right, so we want the first page is an 8K bank of 0, so we want to set all the ROM jumpers to 0. They are 0, 0, 0, and we want an 8K page, which is right. It's currently set for a 16K page. Let's set it for an 8K page, which is down. Yep. So 8K pages and page 0, which is the smaller basic, so that's good. And then on the RAM board, my confusion last week when the picture showed all the jumpers on the right, but that wasn't a valid configuration according to the table printed on the board. The bottom jumper isn't the start address at all, which is what it was supposed to be configured. The bottom jumper enables or disables paging. So when that is on the right, then other devices such as the ROM board can deselect RAM when they're addressed. So that allows you to have the full 64K of RAM in the system as well, and have it step aside when the ROM is being accessed. Let's get that lined up. So we should, in theory, be in a position to throw the switch and see what happens. Back to cool term. Thus, cool term set of 115, 8 and 1 connect. Well, that's not a good sign. Well, it stopped doing that at least. View hex, and we'll send a reset. Oh, aha, view. Memory top, I don't know, enter. Well, that was unexpectedly straightforward. I was hoping for some debugging. One moment. Ah. Well, it's working well enough to let me write a program, and then it crashes. So yeah, I present you want an integer. You don't want to do your iterations over floats. But okay, let's reset and try again. Memory top, enter. That reset a lot quicker than the first attempt. Okay, that's interesting. Error in 10. Huh, okay, I didn't realise you can do that in MS Basic. Well, let's let me just the other problem we have here is that I've got to reach over the RC2014 to get to the keyboard. So anyway, that much works. Let's try it with the slightly bigger basic and see what happens. Slightly bigger basic, so we want page 1. Like so. And pop it in there. And press space to activate console. That's very Cisco-esque. Press. This isn't the image I was expecting. BC, basic cold boot. Oh no, that won't work because that's not. If that's not the image I was expecting, then I wonder what that beep noise in my ear was. I didn't want to unplug that one. Idiot. Sorry, no. I wasn't expecting that image because that image is a 16K image. Oh, because I right. These bits are in the wrong order. Let me switch cameras. I adjusted that bit there, which is sorry, full screen. Yeah, A15 there, and I wanted to. For some reason, it's going most significant on the left, which is not ideal. So if we move that one, we should in theory get but hang on, if I change that one then that should have booted into 6, which is so these are the numbers I was reading out earlier, 2488609. So they indicate what's in each page of the ROM, with 2 and 4 being basic in different configurations, 88 being a double-size image that contains basic and a CPM bootloader. 6 I think is just the CPM bootloader, and 9 is just a machine monitor. So we've moved that pin, and that should get us to a bigger basic. So we'll try that one out. Once I found where that serial adapter went, it fell on the floor. Nice red stuck pixel on my camera. You'll have to give me a hint, Majenko, roughly whereabouts. I will not be able to see a red stuck pixel to save my life. So bring up that one, connect, and we're doing this nonsense. What I'm going to do is terminal turn that one off, handle backspace and delete. Oh, this has all been updated since I was last in this menu. Clear display on those two. Yeah, sounds good. Handle bell, that sounds good as well. Right. Oh, the beeping might have been Discord. Never mind. So if we flick the power switch, what do we get? Not much. Press reset. Well, it doesn't like that for some reason, does it? Okay. Let's power down and put that jumper back where I found it and see if that fixes anything. It's possible that we might have to read the book of words. Connect again. Power up. Reset. Yeah, there we go. Memory top, enter. So now we are back to the basic we had before. Which is better than a screen full of accented capital O's, yes. So I just made the mistake there of catching up with chat, and some of you people are frankly quite worrying. So let's bring up the, if I can find it, this one. Every 64K ROM now has an 8-digit code, and each digit from left to right refers to an 8K bank. This bank can be set with the A13, 14, 15 jumpers. So we're currently at 0, which is the 2. Good. And we wanted to get to 2000, which is the second one, so A13 to 1. Yes. Every 64 has an 8K bank. So if we changed that to... That should have worked. Why didn't that work? What we got instead was this. Oh, that was when I changed the A15 line to that. Does that mean I've accidentally configured it for 16K pages? That's the wrong module. That's the one I think that Jeepin will be playing with when his turn's up. We want pageable ROM. That's the module I've got. Module is designed 64K problem in mind. Yes, if you yes. The jumpers on the left set which size pages use. Here the arrow lines are either connected through or not. The jumpers on the right select where that page is located on the ROM. Yes, okay, fine. see the chart below. So we want 8K pages. LLHHH. LLHHH is correct. And then that should be yes, leave unjumpered 100 100 13 14 15. Yeah, so why did that not work? Let's try again. Cool term again. Okay. Well, now it stops spewing nonsense at me at least, but... So if I press the reset button on the back plane, it starts spewing nonsense. And if I press the reset button on the clock board, that's interesting. I don't know. Weird. Okay, let's try... Let's say 16K pages. And second page, so that should be the... No, it should be the ROM monitor that we saw half or partially working earlier. That crashed after a while because I think it was only half mapped, so when it tried to jump to basic nothing happened. Yeah, there we go. That's... Oh, this is different. Okay. Small computer monitor. Board, console, fill, AP, blimey, devices. Let's try running devices and see what happens. Okay, we have 2 serial ports, we knew that. Let's try basic. Memory top, enter. That's 32K basic again. Well, while I think about that for a moment, I'm going to catch up on chat because I don't know what on earth you're talking about now. Majenko, you should always have a second cider, yes. Ginger lemongrass tea, that sounds good as well. I am on Darjeeling. Also causing grievous offence by having milk in it, I'm afraid. But Such is life. I didn't see that until after I started looking at ChatGPT, unfortunately. But you are quite right. Yes, I should know better by now, shouldn't I? So the 32K basic image in ROM page 0 works. The monitor image in pages 2 and 3 works when you jump it for 16K. So what was in clear data? So what was the image we tried to boot earlier that failed? That was whatever was in page 4. 6. Whoops. Yes, we'll drop the board there. That's a good idea. 6 was the CPM monitor for pageable ROM. Okay, I don't know why that offered to boot basic if it was only a CPM monitor. So yeah, 4 Microsoft Basic with 56K RAM, SIO with Origin 0. Okay, so we are going to resort to reading the I shall bring Safari back in a second. There we go. No, the jumpers don't permit it, unfortunately. What the jumpers are doing is you tell... Oh, hang on, 32K. I presume the images are intending to run at a certain address in ROM, and so if you try and map more of the ROM, you could in theory map the top or the bottom half of the ROM quite happily, but then all the addresses will be wrong. So let's have a read of this document which someone has written. So the 6 is the one that was sort of working. 2 works. 6 sort of works then crashes. I have 8 in these 2 slots which does appear to work, but I really want to run the 56K RAM basic so that I can write gigantic programs, obviously. So let's see, backplane. So I wanted to... Oh, that's not the document I thought it was. RC2014 Pro jumper settings, there we go. RAM module, ROM module. Here we go. The top 3 jumpers set the start address of the lower 32K of RAM set to 0, that's fine. The bottom sets of the lower 32K is enabled or controlled by the ROM. Oh, there is a link at the bottom of the module which is only used in 32K or 56K mode on the 2014 Classic or Plus and should not be used here. Well, I haven't installed that link, that's fine, but maybe 56K Basic isn't... Well, no. I was going to say maybe 56K Basic isn't supposed to work on the Pro, but then why would it be on the ROM? So, we'll revisit this bottom jumper in a minute. I'm pretty sure it's correct, but we'll check it anyway. Where are we? 10 past 11. Okay, got a little while yet. ROM module. The left side jumper set page side. You usually use 8 or 16K, that's fine. Right side selects which page the ROM is active. The 2014 Pro is able 248860009. That's what I've got, yes. 2466688. Right, and that's what we've got selected at the moment, and it appears to work. And that one works. That one we can't test because we don't have a compact flash card, but we want to test this one and this one. Leave the port B clock unjumpered. Oops, maybe that was a mistake then. We shall unjumper that one. However, 32k basic, so that's what we've already got working. Use the double header, all 4 jumpers to the right hand setting. Yes, did that. Top 3 jumper sets start address to 0 because bottom jumper sets lower 32 to be paged in and out. Lower 32 will not be enabled under basic. Ah. Okay. Page will ROM low. So that's what we had earlier. We did move it because we wanted to test out that double paged image, but we should put that back to where it should be. Low, high. No, lower. Yeah. Dual clock. Those are both set correctly. Yes. Do not collect. Oh, right. Okay. So the port B clock jumper presumably shorts the A and B clock if you only have the single clock module. We have the dual clock, so we take the jumper off. Okay, good. Done that now anyway. 64k RAM module for 56k basic. Aha, right. So we had to change where the RAM is. So first we'll do this one and set the ROM page correctly. And now we need to move the lower 32k of RAM to start at the 8k mark. Yes, indeed. I think the link label is for different versions of the system, but it is a bit unobvious, isn't it? So first we set the RAM to start at the 8k mark, and then we move that jumper so that it's always enabled rather than being controlled by the ROM board. So that's completely different settings on that block of jumpers there. And let's see what happens. Back to CoolTerm. Okay, on. We are connected. It's receiving a lot of null bytes still, but if we flick the switch and press the reset button, aha! Press enter. 56k free. Okay, great, so that works. So I believe the only difference between those two images is how much RAM you can actually use. Like I said, obviously if I want to write massive programs in Microsoft Basic on this thing, then having the extra RAM would be handy, but the main aim here was just to make sure that it worked. So we'll go back to that document and have a look at what other options we have. CPM. Well, CPM isn't going to boot without a compact flash card at all, so we can ignore that for the time being. 9 small computer monitors. And then we've already seen 8.8, so let's try 9. So RAM all the way back to where it was. ROM to, it helps I look at the right board, wouldn't it? And then the ROM needs to be lower, lower, upper, 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 nothing, 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 higher, higher, higher. Okay, fine. There we go. And back to cool term, like that, and power up, hit reset, and we get an A. Did I manage to not plug the memory board in? I did indeed. Small computer monitor, good. So this is the same as the one we saw earlier, except it doesn't have the basic command, it doesn't have CPM. So let's try disassemble address. Where did we put the ROM? Oops. The ROM is 8K down from the top. 8K is 2000, so that'll be at DE0. Ah, there we go. Starts at 0. Okay, so we have a working monitor. That's always good for low-level pokings around. And the only thing left to do is to try that CPM one and see what happens. Probably nothing of any interest whatsoever, but we should do it anyway. For that we need 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That, clear data, power up, press space to activate console. Okay, this is the one we were seeing earlier, isn't it? So if we do B and then C for cold boot, we crash because there's no ROM basic built in. Okay. So that's looking good. Let's just check something. Is there there's no random. That's a shame. I was hoping to run that very simple maze thing with slashes and backslashes. But anyway, that's good progress at least. It works. Once we figure out the jumper settings properly, it works anyway. So what do we have left to build? We have 4 modules left to build, which are the compact flash card, VGA console based around a Raspberry Pi Pico, Wi-Fi module based around the ESP, I thought it was ESP32, it's not, 8266, and a digital I/O board which is 8 push buttons and LEDs that you can make flash in pretty orders and such like. Whichever is pink. The pink one is the compact flash board G-pin, and admittedly that is very tempting because that means then we can boot CPM and see what happens. Do I plan to port forth to it? I don't know whether I'd bother porting one myself or just grabbing, as a Swarm says there, grabbing a Z81 that already exists. Because I mean, the fourth I wrote for System 1 was basically just a direct port of Jones' fourth, which is public domain, and is a very nice literate programming example for 386 assembler. So yeah, I could port that again, or just grab someone else's, and someone else's is probably going to be more fully featured. I wonder if there's one that will run as CPM. That would be fun. Traditionally, fourth doesn't really run in a OS environment. It has its own idea of how to do storage and such like, and that basically is raw sector access. Extending the kit with a VGA board. Well, I've got the VGA board, so we shall build it at some point. Thank you for the follow there, Slayer Darth. Much appreciated. So yeah, I'll have a think about it. We might build the compact flash card next time. We might build the VGA card next time. One or the other, I think, would be a good starting point. Cheers, Carrot House. Thanks for dropping by. I shall see you next time, I'm sure. So I'll have a think. We'll build one or the other next week. Yes, I'm in the UK. Friday we will be doing, as I said, the keyboard driver on System 1, so do join me for that. And then join me next Tuesday from about... and nice to meet you too, Slayer Darth. I'll be back next Tuesday from about, hopefully, 9:15, 9:30, to do at least one more board for this machine.
Majenko Tech cheered with 100 bits. Why port fourth when you could port fifth? I plead the fifth. And Karathouse pleads. Just pleads. On his knees. Yet again. Find him between 3 and 8 in room 454.
Thank you, Majenko, for the 100 bits. They are very much appreciated. Well, I'm near Oxford, so yes, splitting the difference there, I think. So yeah, like I said, folks, that's about it for this week. We've made some good progress. We've got stuff coming up for the next few streams. Keyboard, more of this next Tuesday, and then next Friday we shall be looking at all the mechanical nonsense that I've been lumbered with as a result of that failed escapade on Joey's behalf. Oh, Harwell, yes, very nice. I drove past it on Friday on a nonsense expedition to go and collect some hardware for Tech Tangents, another streamer, which has not gone according to plan. So more on that in a week and a half, and I'm afraid I think I'm going to call it a night there. So thank you everybody for joining me, and catch you next time.